Hi everybody, Vigorous Rapscallion here, and today we're going to be talking about player height and location offsets. So, what we're going to be looking at is how to keep the player where you want them to be, and how to keep them in the right spot when you're doing level transitions. As it stands, there's one complication with level transitions in VR games you don't have in flat games, and that's that you're going to be spawning in the origin space. So if the player's not standing in the center of their origin, they're going to spawn off to the side of where you want them to be. Right now, we're in an app that I just released on Steam. I'll talk about that more at the end of the video. But what we want to happen in the next scene is we want to spawn in directly in front of a desk at a comfortable height to push buttons and interact with things on that desk. So I'm purposefully going to move pretty far off center of the play space here. Gonna move to the side a bit. And there we go. Let's see what happens. And as you can see, I'm out in the back rooms here. I'm out of bounds, and there's not really an easy way to get back in. Luckily, it kind of defaults if you point nowhere to spawning you at origin. So that works, but that's not really great. So how are we going to get it so we spawn here? We want to be right in front of this desk at a comfortable height. So let's start out with the lateral issues. Let's get ourselves spawning in the right area on the floor, and after that, we'll deal with height. So let's take a look at the elements of this issue. What's happening is we want to spawn here, where our player spawn point is, but because we're not standing in the middle of the origin, we're spawning over here. If we were standing in front of the origin, we'd be spawning over here, etc. So it seems like what we need is to find the difference between this position here and where we're actually standing. The next question to answer is, where do we want to put the logic to handle this? Well, since it always is dealing with the VR pawn, that seems like a logical place to put it. You could also put this in a game instance, but I like putting it in the pawn. Okay, so over here in begin play. Now begin play is going to be called every time this spawns in. It's not just going to be called when the game boots. So this seems like a good place to put it. You can see we've already got a lot of tracking information here. So let's put it at the end of this and not monkey with that at all. So we know we need to know where our VR origin is. You could also use the player spawn point to get the same information, because the VR origin is going to be that spawn point when the level loads. But this is going to be a more robust solution if you want to, add some more complicated position resets. This is going to work better for you. So let's just do something that's going to handle every case from the get-go. We're also going to want our camera position. So the camera position is going to be the position of our head. We want to use that because it's both going to tell us where we are laterally and to give us some information on our height. So first thing we want to do is get the world position, location for both of these. I was thinking in a different language. Location. And we're going to go ahead and split these struct pins because we're going to do something different with the height when we get to that. Didn't mean to do that. There we go. And then one other thing that I found just through trial and error is that when the level first loads, this stuff isn't necessarily here. You might get back 000 as your position for the camera because it hasn't actually spawned yet. I've tried delay 1 tick, and that's not really too reliable. So I've been doing delay for 0.1 second. That should be enough for that location information to load, while still being short enough that it won't be perceivable to the player. So next we're going to subtract the VR origin location from our camera location to get that difference. I'm going to do that for X and for Y right now. And this is actually going to give us the inverse of what we want. It's going to give us a positive number when we want a negative one, and vice versa. So that's an easy fix. We just multiply by -1. I found a lot of times if you're having trouble with any kind of positioning thing in Unreal, check if you need to invert something. There we go. And this will work fine if the origin is 0, 0, if that's what we're trying to get to. But if it's not, we're going to need to add back in the VR origin location. So let's go ahead and just do that by default. It's not really a lot of extra code. And you could set it up so it only does that when it's relevant, but like I said, it's a pretty simple step, so I would just do it all the time personally. So we add in that result, then we grab our Y, and add in that result. Great, so now we know where we want to spawn. So let's go ahead and, oops, meant to grab this, set world location. Grab that after the delay. Go ahead and split this pin and add that in. We're also just going to get our existing Z value for now, and we'll get to height in a moment. All right, let's see if that worked. Let's go test it out. Okay, so once again, we're purposefully going to move pretty off center here. We should be spawning somewhere crazy again, but we're not. Look at that. We're right in front of the desk. Isn't that great? All right, so we are a little higher up than I'd like, though. Right now, the player has to lean over to press the button. If they were sitting, this would be great. But what if I had it set up the other way, where it defaulted to standing? Well, then I'd also want something to handle that. So it seems like for this particular setup, and don't worry, we will get into how to set a custom height offset per player. But for this setting, we pretty much just want the head to always spawn at the same height. So let's look at how we can do that. So next we want to set the height. And for this particular scene, we just want this to be set so it's a comfortable position to be pushing the buttons on this desk and interacting with the things on it. It takes a little bit of trial and error, but first thing we're going to do is make a player height variable, which I already have down here. Going to make that a float. Let's go ahead and grab that. Right now I have it set at 180, and we're just going to try that and see how it feels. So once again, we're going to subtract where we actually are from where we want to be. That's going to be inverted again, so we're going to multiply by -1. And then we're once again going to add in our VR origin location. Right now it won't matter because it's at 0, but there are situations where it will. So let's be forward thinking. Put that in, and let's try it out. Okay, so we're going to try this a couple different ways. First, we're going to try it standing. Spawned in, let's walk up. And that is very comfortable. That's like right at waist height. I don't have to stretch to hit anything. Great. So we are going to want to make one quick adjustment here. We're going to want a different height for seated. So already made where'd it go? Seated position. Same thing, just to float. And let's try this at like 130 and see how that works. Okay, let's try it again. And it looks like I overdid it a little bit. This feels a little funky. So let's go ahead and readjust. We're just going to go back to seated position here, and let's just adjust that up by 20. Try that out. Okay, so we've got that adjusted up a little bit. Let's give it another shot. And great. That was tilted a little to the side there, but you can see it did spawn in at a good height, but as soon as I teleported, I'm way up in the air again. Now, luckily, this is a pretty easy fix. What's happening is it's just getting rid of that height offset that you just set as soon as you teleport. So we just need to take that same height offset and make sure that our teleport is taking that into consideration. So first we need to save that height offset. So we're going to make a new variable called height offset. And I've got one set up already over here. Going to go ahead and grab that. We're going to want to set that before we set world location. Let's break that length there. Do set. And then we just grab this output and set height offset. Now, what are we going to do with this? Well, it messes up whenever we teleport, so we should probably look at the teleport function. Let's take a quick look through this. So where we're ending up here is with these 3 destination locations, and that Z is not ending up what we want it to be. So we're just going to take that offset we just created, and we're going to go ahead and add that, because if it's negative, it'll just end up subtracting it instead, and set our destination's Z location. Let's see if that fixed it. Okay, let's give it another shot. Alright, we do seem to be in the right position now. Let's teleport. And we are still at the same height. And if we stand up and get taller, it doesn't reset us. Which you don't want, because otherwise it could get real disorienting if the person was accidentally a little lower when they teleported, etc. So that's why we set that offset where we do. Now, if you wanted to have an in-game menu to change this, you'd just go ahead and take that player height offset and you allow the player to adjust it up or down as they like. You're also going to want to call that teleport function when they adjust it. That part should be pretty easy to figure out, and to show that in the video, I'd have to go into like building an entire UI for that. So I'm going to leave that as an exercise for the viewer. Briefly, I do want to talk about what we're sitting in right now. As I said at the beginning of the video, this is an app I just released on Steam. This is an app that lets you experience the Gainesfield effect. The Gainesfield effect is the opposite of sensory deprivation. It's what's called sensory saturation. So instead of there being nothing around you, you're presented with totally even stimulus. And what this does is if you sit in there for about 10 minutes, your brain doesn't know what it's looking at and tries to figure it out, and you end up experiencing minor hallucinations. These get more vivid the longer you stay in there. Some people experience auditory hallucinations as well. But I just think it's a really interesting effect. It's something I've been aware of for a while, and the psychological community has been aware of it since the 1930s. A long time ago, I built some glasses to experience this effect before VR headsets even existed, and it occurred to me that everybody who owns a VR headset can experience this very easily. So basically what you're looking at here is you choose a color, you choose a time period, and then whether or not you want white noise. You do need white noise to experience the effect, so the option to not have it is just in case you want to use white noise from a different source, like a white noise machine. Once you have that set, you grab these goggles, and there you go. So you'll just be in this space. I turned the white noise off so you could still hear me talk, because it can be kind of loud. And if you sit in here long enough, you start to see some freaky stuff. So if that sort of thing interests you, or if you just want to support the channel, the game's only $5. It's called The Theater of the Mind, and there is a link in the description. I was busy getting that published, which was a little bit of a process, so that's why I haven't had as many videos, but I will be posting some more tutorial videos over the next couple of weeks, and I'm hoping to do a tutorial on that publishing process so you can all get your apps and games out into the world. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.